सभी गुरुजनों को चरण स्पर्श. Dear friends, it's a pleasure being here. Thanks to the organizer for having me here. And all good things happen to me in my life because of my friends. And I'm here because of another good friend of mine, Professor Srini, who introduced me to Professor Sridhar, and that's what I'm here. If you've noticed, you would have attended different conferences and all. You know, generally the speaker who comes around 4 is the most beautiful and the handsome. Because if you look at the speakers list, everybody's name has got a doctor except me. If you're wondering why, so why they want somebody? Because somebody they wanted a handsome guy. No? Like you have an item song and a movie, so.
That's a strange hypothesis.
Yeah. And before I start, just small correction. I did executive education from IIM Bangalore. And currently I'm in the Board of Governors of IIM Kashipur. Friends, the topic given to me was current marriage practices and context unique to Bharat. Now, Bharat has a lot of unique business practices. And the business practice, when you say, it encompasses a lot of things, like language. So let me start with the language. So you won't find a word for blackmailing in any Indian language. To begin with. So that defines how our business was or is. The word for business in all Indian language is Udyoga. It's kind of yoke. I won't get into that, that's a separate lecture altogether. We had another unique business practice. When a businessman used to travel to city to do business from a small town, where he used to stay? Hotels. In last 100 years, he came into existence. So, Dharamshala was an option. Every businessman was a big businessman in a big city, had accommodation for all these clients. And even today in a city like in Bombay, where we have got the most expensive real estate, I know a businessman who have accommodation for 10 businessmen. His clients who come from a Gorakhpur or a Chennai stay in his office. He has a cook, 24-hour food service. I can show you. So that's our business practice. Now I'll ask you a small question. Professor Ankur Joshi, Professor Srini, and a couple of you who know the answer are not eligible to answer or prompt. आप लोगों ने कभी किराने वाले से सामान खरीदा है? Kirana the guy who or push cart, he weighed by hand the weighing scale. So assuming you told him कि हमको 1 kg, you want a 1 kg potato, he weighs it 1 kg potato. Then what does he do? Sorry? करेक्ट. जब बराबर हो जाता है दोनों साइड, उसके बाद क्या करता है? एक पोटैटो ज्यादा डालता है. Have you gone to shop in a mall? Have you done shopping in a mall? Have you seen your bill? You pay up to how many decimal places? 3. If you go to a jeweler shop in India, you pay up to decimal places. After decimal, how many places? 2. That defines our Indian business practices. So the taraju was invented, even found in Mohenjo-daro. So it's few thousand years back. And this practice you will find across the country wherever you go. So that defines our unique business practices. Have you noticed it? So here, I'll defer to some of the earlier speakers what they have said on some points, and I hope they will agree to disagree with me and won't get angry with me. So I don't think at all that Gita should be taught in MBA schools or colleges. The reason being, Gita was told to Arjuna and not Abhimanyu. It's a huge difference. Abhimanyu was 18-year-old when he died fighting war. And to me, he looked like a greater warrior than Arjun, because Arjun had a lot of confusions because he had seen the world. He wouldn't have picked up a broken wheel and fought the Mahabharata like Abhimanyu did. He was a great warrior for me, in the league of all the biggest warriors that we have seen. So, I'm not against the Gita should not be taught to management people. I think not to even to the executive or senior executive. It should be taught to manager and above level. What you need to teach maybe is what Abhimanyu did, or what did Ashwathama do, or what did Karna do, or what did Arjun do, the stories. and not the Sanskrit shloks, because from school level we haven't studied the shloks, and suddenly somebody comes and tells me a shlok. And there's another angle to it. The Western management model that we are trying to match, with, we try to develop something which is equivalent to Moscow. Why we need to do it? I'm not against, I'm just asking certain questions. We have our own unique business model. See, the whole Western business model started what you study as a management when Alfred Solon, right? My years at General Motors. He didn't get into looking at Bible and other interpretations. They're important. I'm not denying it for a minute. I'm a hardcore Hindutva guy. Some of my reactions you would have seen, so you could. I'm not against that. I'm just looking at how do we develop Indian business model that we teach. So my argument has been that what do we teach to English? So I also teach. Should I go and conduct 5-day, 10-day course on Indian way of management? So I went to the class and 60 odd students, they asked, tell me frankly that how many of you are interested in studying Indian way of management? So 5 hands went up out of 60. And that was surely due to the respect that somebody has come to teach. So I asked them why you are not interested. The answer was that, sir, now you'll get into talking about dharma, karma, moksha. So that's what Indian management do. And frankly, as a student, I'm least interested in dharma, karma, moksha. I want to enjoy life. As an executive, I do my MBA and looking as a trainee and then looking at a girlfriend, getting married. The Gita becomes important once I become a father or a mother. Because my sister wants to name the kid Gita and my sister-in-law wants to name the kid Jamuna and there is a fight. Or in office, you become a manager, you have to take critical decisions and that's the time you need Gita. Till then, I'm not interested. That's a reality. Or you haven't been able to make that much. And the other part is that I find it quite funny is that when you try to look Gita as a spiritual book and after Gita, people will become rishis. After reading Gita, Arjun went on to kill thousands of people. Let's understand Gita in its proper context. Somebody got it wrong earlier, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and have got it wrong. Let's look at Tilak's understanding. It's to increase the killer instinct. The person who is giving you the thela wala, the lowest businessman, the poorest businessman, if he is willing to give you one potato extra, you can't become more spiritual than him. The thought behind that giving one potato extra to you is that, though it looks equal, still there might have been some mistake, and I take it that that mistake is from my side, and hence I'll put it something more. And irrespective of religion, irrespective of region in this country, you'll find it. I can't find a bigger spiritual person than him. You can't go and teach Gita and tell him to become a spiritual person. So our problem is that, sir, that's how I look at it in understanding Indian business model, is that we haven't studied our businessmen. How many of you are aware of somebody called Jagat Seth? He was considered to be the Jagat, the world Seth called by Britishers who used to rule most of the world. He was the richest businessman in the world, based out of Calcutta. They were businessmen who used to fund both British and Mughals. We haven't studied about that. How many of you know that Mr. Birla, G.D. Birla had written a book on problem of rupee? What will we teach Indian business? If you don't know our own business history, what are we going to teach? How many of you know that what was the impression of textile of Britishers when they came to India? You know what? They used to think that the ship grows on a tree. In the night, the tree bends so that the ship can eat grass, and in the morning, the tree comes back. You can just Google and see, you'll find pictures. The paintings are there even now in the British Museum. You can just Google and see. That was their understanding how the textile is manufactured in India. Have you studied our business history? Do you know the Europeans didn't know the word blue or the color blue exists till they came to India and saw indigo? The word khaki originates from India. And the whole color. That's our contribution. The voluntary bookkeeping is our contribution. The financial year that we follow, I'm sure some of you have known that April to March, because British came to India and that was, we are the biggest contributor of the world GDP, they had no choice but to follow April, March financial year, and whichever country they ruled still follows barring Canada and one more country which has changed, are all British colonies still follow April-March financial year. So that was our contribution and we are not looking at it. Today we look at Gita. Again, as I said, I'm nothing against that. Very important, that should be taught. But we have forgotten about our Dharma Shastra. P.V. Kane's 8 book set in 5 volumes, spread over 8 sets, is important. In 8th century, one of, I'm forgetting the name, somebody has written, the rules for a management trainee. A management trainee should be hired, he should study in the home of his guru, and whatever work he does, produces, guru has right on that. And guru is supposed to teach him everything and take care of his shelter, boarding, lodging and food. If any one of them does his duty, he should be punished by the state. It's there in the 8th century Dharma Shastra. Manu writes, if you have recruited a labor to do some work and if he falls sick, you must wait for 15 days till he comes back or whenever he recovers. And in case your work is urgent, you need to hire somebody else. That's perfectly fine, but still you have to pay to the earlier labor for money because he has not fallen sick intentionally. Much maligned Manu has written that. You haven't read? It's there, sir. All the laws are there. You haven't read our business history, you haven't read about our own business. None of the IIMs, none of the Chamber of Commerce has a list of books, biographies, autobiographies published on Indian business. Now, coming to the other part of it. In 1860, David C. McClellan did a study. It's published in a book called Achieving Society. You'll find it in quite a book. So, they wanted to find out the kids of which country are most enterprising. They went on to study kids of 60 countries. They studied 120 objects. The court they sleep, the dress they wear, the games they play, everything. You know what was their conclusion? The kids in India had the most entrepreneurial ability. The reason? Because the lullabies they hear as a kid, the stories that they hear, the games they play make them more entrepreneurial. Not studying any scripture. Studying scripture comes much later in the day. And I'll give you an example. You all have, I'm sure you have heard of a game called Monopoly or Business. Have you played? Fine. So there is an instance when you come to go to the prison, right? So you have two choices. You go to the prison or you can skip the chance or you pay a penalty and you skip going to prison. What will you do? You will go to prison or you pay the fine? How many of you will go to the prison? Handfully. Now I keep asking these questions and out of 5,000 people that I would have asked, 3 have said they will go to prison. If you read the book on Monopoly, it's the highest selling book. The organizer, people who have done PhDs, they have guides. It says it's preferable to go to the jail. Because the next house is owned by somebody else. If you land up there, you again pay the penalty. Now some American wrote that if you grow up playing Monopoly or business, therefore to save money you are willing to go to jail, then we are going to see more and more Lehman Brothers. Because jail जाना में शर्म नहीं आती. The origin of Monopoly is what? The game called Ludo from India. And I'm sure you know the Ludo was invented in India. It was called Moksh Patamu or Moksh Patam, where you had if you do a good work, you used to get a ladder. If you cheat somebody, you get a snake. 99 was lust, 100 was moksha. Now British couldn't connect what lust, moksha was. And similar other terms, so they simplified it into 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how it evolved to. So the kind of games that you play as a kid went on to make you a better entrepreneur. The kind of stories that you read in Jataka and Panchatantra, and that is what we should be teaching in MBA colleges according to me. If you read, I can give a lot of examples on that. Looking at the time constraint, I won't get into it. You'll find that we have more entrepreneurial qualities in those things to talk about, to develop in our students. So, conclude what I'll say is that what we need to study is our business history. Yesterday I was looking at the bookshops. I found a book which is talking about machines that made American industry. Can you think of such a book in India? I will tell you, when Britishers here, they sent some scientists, agriculture scientists, to improve the plow that you were using. The guys went back, reported that there's the best cow you can have anywhere in the world. The whole metallurgy invented because of, we know that the material that we found we couldn't decipher. So a lot of things is common knowledge, but we haven't looked who was the guy who was dealing in business, man. If we used to contribute Sone Ki Chidiya and we are contributing 40% of world GDP, and I'm building a museum, you can come and see, I have an answer why we lost and how we lost the GDP part. So, basic question I ask myself is that how you used to transport goods, right? Huge amount of goods that needs to be transported. So, in 7th century, a French traveler records he was in Pataliputra, he was stuck in traffic jam for 1 week. So, what was the traffic jam in 7th century in Pataliputra for 1 week? So, the goods those days used to move in a caravan of bullock cart ranging from 800 to $2,000. So, that those bullock cart, those kabila or whatever we call nowadays, Guantu or gypsies will be the English word. So, they were specialized, they will move from Punjab carrying wheat to south and they will come back carrying salt from south to north. And there's the only two products they will deal. So, the whole family move in the bullock cart. Teacher, the priest, everybody had one bullock cart. So, wherever they will stop, those kids will be taught by the teacher, the guru who is there in the moving. So, it was a whole moving city. And this guy was caught between two such caravans. So, he was stuck for a week. So, they have a very powerful business history. And if you want to teach Indian way of management, we have to go about studying how our industrialists, our businessmen used to do business. So, I can go on talking about our Indian businessmen. It's a fascinating tale. We are here only. TVS Group's founder, they were used to run bus. And they were so punctual that everybody used to match their, watch clock looking at the bus timing. And same thing goes for the Nandas in the north. They used to run bus service from Amritsar to Lahore and they were so punctual that people used to match the clock with them. We had Sitaram Jivraj, he imported a lot of radio sets from London and they were found faulty. The so-called, the honest businessman of Britain, he refused. This guy took all the faulty radios, he paid his customers, he fought a case and won from them. And he was the guy who took the computers, semiconductors when they were invented and gave it to the Jadavpur University Engineering College student free of cost to study. We have a huge history how our science and research was developed by this businessman. I'm sure Sitaram Jivraj nobody knows of him. Wouldn't have heard of his name. There is a written document as somebody was talking about corruption, the British side. I didn't know this issues will come up, otherwise I would carry my presentation. The British right, when British moved to interiors of India, corruption moved along with them. There's a whole documentation. Indians were not cheat anywhere. I'll tell you, if you go to the southernmost tip of Africa, where Atlantic meets with Indian Ocean, Pacific, it's Atlantic, it's very violent. Indian Ocean is very peace. What people say, it represents the two countries. Because the Indians came, they never enslaved us. They were peaceful people, that's what Indian Ocean is. And Europeans and Americans came, they were violent people. And that's what the ocean represents. That's what they talk there. What are we going to teach spirituality? So it's inherent in our behavior. It's just that we need to look at it. Disagree, just not for disagreement. I'm not against it, just trying to put a different perspective. Please look at it from there. I'm not against anybody's views. So, if you read, I'll just conclude. Jack and Jill went up the hill. Look like a childish thing to you, but it leaves a big impact on as a kid in the mind. Went up the hill, they fell down, right? All the king's soldiers couldn't put them back. But twinkle little star, I don't know, wonder what you are. I don't know what you star. But हम जब चंदा मामा खाते हैं, तो चंदा तो मामा बन जाता है. नहीं जानने का बात ही नहीं है. So start with establishing a relationship. His mama. That's how you produce a movie of Jadoo, of Hrithik Roshan. When an alien comes, he becomes your friend. It's not a Star Wars. That's how we accepted. Whoever will come will be a friend. Why do you think somebody alien is going to be an enemy? So that's how we produce a different kind of movie. Because what we have heard as a childhood. Chanda Mama ke paas Munna jayega, khel ke wapas aayega. We'll go to moon and come back. That has been established in the kid and that's how It might be go and ask some of the ISRO scientists, they might have heard it. They may not realize that it's there in the subconscious. So what it gives you all this is Antha-prerna. Right? Antha-prerna makes you Antha-prerna. So if you don't have Indian kid stories, you won't have Antha-prerna, you can't become a good entrepreneur. Thank you. That is all.